When you find yourself unable to let go of someone who is no longer part of your life, it's tempting to believe that you are still deeply attached to them, that they must have been special, irreplaceable, your other half. But what if I told you that it's not really them you miss, not the person as they are now, not even who they were then, but a part of you that you once felt alive in their presence? What if the real loss is not the loss of a person, but the loss of a version of yourself that only existed when they were near? So often we become entangled not with who someone truly is, but with the feeling they evoked in us. Maybe with them you felt seen for the first time. Maybe with them you felt like your laughter mattered, like your softness wasn't a weakness, like your presence was essential. It's easy to mistake that feeling for love directed at another person. But the truth is, it was your soul recognizing its own reflection in the moment. You miss the you who was allowed to come alive. And when they left, or drifted, or could no longer meet you where you needed to be met, it wasn't just them you mourned, it was your own light dimming. The mind clings to those moments because they were sacred. You revisit conversations, smiles, touches, glances, not because they're objectively rare, but because they felt rare to you. They marked a time when you believed you were understood without explanation, and now that understanding is gone. What remains is a silence that feels not just lonely, but alien, as though a vital part of your identity was attached to someone who no longer calls your name. And yet, there is a deeper truth beneath that longing. You are not grieving a person, you are grieving an experience, a moment in time when something within you was activated, maybe for the first time. That feeling was real, but the person who triggered it was only a catalyst, not the keeper of your joy, not the guardian of your soul. They were a mirror. And now that the mirror is gone, you believe that the image has disappeared with it. But what if the image remains? What if the parts of yourself you thought were awakened by them actually belong to you? The affection, the warmth, the vitality. You didn't borrow those qualities from them, you offered them. They arose from your own depth, your own ability to feel. You gave the love, you brought the connection. They simply stood near enough to reflect it back. And when they walked away, it didn't mean the magic disappeared. It meant the mirror moved. But the light source? That was never them. It was always you. This realization isn't meant to diminish what you felt. It's meant to empower you. Because when you believe that someone else is the source of your happiness, your wholeness, your purpose, you give them more than your heart. You give them your identity. And when they leave, you feel not just heartbreak, but disorientation, as though you no longer know who you are without their presence to define you. But you were never truly defined by them. You were discovering parts of yourself through them. And that journey isn't over, it's just taken a new direction. The work now is to reclaim what you once saw so clearly, to sit with your memories, not as evidence that you've lost something irreplaceable, but as reminders of what you are still capable of feeling, to stop looking at them as the gatekeeper of your emotional life, and begin to see them as a passing figure in your inner unfolding. You must gently untangle the threads, not by forcing yourself to forget, but by learning to see differently. To see that what you felt was sacred not because of their presence, but because of your own aliveness. That the warmth wasn't theirs, it was yours being reflected back, and that it still lives in you, waiting to be nurtured again. This is not about denying love. It's about deepening your understanding of it. It's about seeing how easily we fall into the illusion that someone else made us feel whole, when in truth, we felt whole because, for a moment, we allowed ourselves to open fully, to be unguarded, to be seen. That experience is not bound to one person. It can be accessed again, not through searching for another to replace them, but by turning inward and rebuilding a relationship with the parts of you that were once illuminated. In time, you'll realize that the person you miss most is not them, but yourself, your joyful self, your trusting self, your expansive self. And as you begin to rebuild that relationship, not only will the grip of the past begin to loosen, but something even more beautiful will take its place. A deep and unwavering love for the self you are still becoming. And that love no one can take from you. We all do it. We sit in silence, turning over memories like pages in a worn-out book, looking for something we missed the first time. We go back to the way they smiled, the way they spoke our name, the subtle gestures that felt like poetry in motion. And then we begin to wonder, what if? What if we'd said one more thing? What if they hadn't walked away? What if we were still there, in that moment, frozen in time where everything still felt possible? But this is the trap of memory. It plays tricks on us. It lets us believe we're simply reflecting, when in truth, we're negotiating with ghosts, trying to reshape the past with present clarity, trying to alter endings that have already arrived. And each time we revisit that mental theater, we think we're understanding it better, healing it more. But the mind, when attached to an unresolved story, doesn't search for truth. It searches for justification, validation, comfort. It searches for the version of the story where you were not abandoned, where love was enough, where things made sense. And when it can't find that version, it loops again, hoping maybe this time it will. This is the pain of wanting closure from a past that has already closed. We keep the door slightly ajar, not because we expect them to walk back through it, but because part of us doesn't want to admit that it's over, that what happened was final, that the version of them we still hold on to in our mind isn't even who they are anymore, if it ever truly was. And yet, the brain clings. It replays the moments that were good. It romanticizes the words that were kind. It skips over the times you felt alone, unseen, dismissed. Because nostalgia doesn't deal in facts, it deals in feelings, and those feelings often lie. You must stop arguing with your memories as if they are a court of truth. They are not transcripts. They are reflections of your emotional state at the time. An emotional memory is biased. It amplifies what it wants to feel again and minimizes what it never wanted to feel at all. You don't miss them exactly. You miss the idea of them, the version you created in your mind, the one who could have loved you better if only they tried harder, if only timing had been kinder, if only you were more patient, less reactive, more forgiving. But the truth is, you already were forgiving. You were patient. You gave more chances than they ever earned. You stayed long after you felt the shift, long after their absence began to show up even in their presence. And yet the mind doesn't hold on to that part, because pain wants to be resolved, and when it can't find peace in the facts, it makes up a better version of the story. It romanticizes what hurt. It paints red flags white. It puts perfume on wounds so they don't smell like betrayal. And that fantasy, when it becomes your focus, becomes your prison. This is why healing can feel so impossible, because you're not just trying to let go of a person, you're trying to let go of a dream, a vision of love that you deeply believed in, a future you were building in your heart before it ever took shape in the real world. And letting go of a person is one kind of grief. Letting go of a dream, that's another. But both are necessary. Because clinging to a dream that is no longer possible does not bring comfort. It brings distortion. It steals your peace. It keeps you chasing shadows in daylight. You must start to see your mind for what it is, not a courtroom, but a storybook. And sometimes, stories need to be closed, not because they were wrong, but because they are finished. Not every chapter leads to the ending you envision, and not every character stays until the last page. But that doesn't mean the story didn't matter. It meant it had a purpose. It taught you something. It awakened something. It showed you what you want and what you'll never settle for again. There is strength in refusing to reread a chapter that only brings you confusion. There is power in saying, I don't need to keep asking why they didn't love me the way I loved them. You have the answer already. The only thing left is the acceptance of it. And when you stop negotiating with your memories, you'll begin to hear something else. Your own voice. The voice that's been drowned out by echo after echo of a past that refuses to stay in the past. And that voice will tell you something the memories never could. You are already free. You just haven't walked away in your mind yet. The peace you are looking for is not hidden in a memory. It's waiting in your decision to stop looking for answers in places that have already let you go. We live in a world that tells us to stay busy, to keep moving, to distract ourselves from pain until it disappears like smoke in the wind. And so, when someone we once loved becomes a memory that still haunts us, the instinct is often to run. Run into new distractions, new people, new goals, anything that silences the ache long enough to feel like we're okay again. But what if I told you that you cannot outrun grief? That pain has a way of catching up, not to punish you, but to remind you that what you felt was real, and it still lives in you, unprocessed. Most people believe that healing is a race, that if you move fast enough, if you stay productive, if you smile enough times, eventually the sadness will get tired of chasing you and give up. But the truth is, suppressed grief doesn't dissolve, it settles. It hides in your muscles, in your breath, in the pauses between conversations. It leaks out in the silence of your nights, in the dreams you can't explain, in the tears that come without warning when a song reminds you of what you lost. And so I tell you this not as a warning, but as a gentle urging. Stop running. Sit down. Let the pain speak. Let the ache unfold itself in your chest without needing to contain it or justify it. You do not need to be okay right now. You need to be honest. You need to be present with the version of yourself that still doesn't understand how someone could live when you were still so full of love to give. That part of you is not weak. It is sacred. And it doesn't need to be silenced. It needs to be heard. We often think we'll be consumed by the pain if we look at it too closely, that if we truly allow ourselves to feel, we'll never stop crying, never stop missing them, never stop hurting. But the paradox of grief is this: the more we allow it to move through us, the more it moves out of us. When you suppress, you trap it. When you face it, you free it. The tears you've been holding back are not a sign of failure. They are the body's way of releasing what the heart can no longer hold alone. Let yourself remember without judgment. Let yourself miss them without needing to justify why. Let the memories come and let them go. Feel the sharpness without numbing it, because what you are grieving is not only the person, but the hope, the dreams, the moments that will now never be. And that grief is complex. It will not follow a straight line. It will rise and fall like waves. And sometimes it will pull you under. But even in the drowning, something within you learns how to breathe differently, more deeply, more truthfully. It's okay to sit in your room and feel like the world has stopped. It's okay to cancel plans, to say no to pretending, to admit that you're not over it. Because pretending to be over it doesn't heal you. It only makes the wound quieter, not smaller. And what you silence today will shout tomorrow, often in ways you least expect. So better to give the grief your full attention now, while it's still knocking gently, before it becomes a storm you can no longer contain. You don't have to understand everything to begin healing. You don't need closure from them. You don't need their apology, or an explanation, or even a final conversation. What you need is the courage to feel what you've been avoiding, the courage to sit with the version of yourself that was hurt and not abandon them the way someone else did, to give that part of you what they never could: presence, patience, compassion. And in that sacred stillness, something shifts. When you stop running, the grief transforms. It no longer feels like a punishment. It begins to feel like a rite of passage. A journey through fire that burns away the illusions, the self-doubt, the clinging. You begin to see clearly, not just who they were, but who you were with them, and who you are without them. You begin to reclaim parts of yourself that got lost in the loving, in the leaving, in the longing. So I say to you, don't fear the silence. Don't fear the nights when the emptiness feels unbearable. Those are the moments where truth is born, where clarity rises, where you remember that your heart is not broken beyond repair, it is broken open, and in that opening, more light can come in than ever before. Feel it all. Let it wash through you. Don't rush to fix it. Don't try to fill it. Just be with it. Let your presence be the medicine. Because your presence is more powerful than any distraction, and within that stillness, healing will come. Not all at once, but slowly, surely, like dawn after a long, dark night. And when it does, you'll realize something beautiful. The person you were before the pain may be gone, but the person you've become because of it is wiser, deeper, and more whole than you ever imagined. We often talk about letting go as though it's a single, decisive act, like dropping a stone into water or cutting a string that's been holding us back. But letting go of someone who still lives in your mind is rarely that simple. It's not one moment, but 1,000 quiet choices. It's not the loud declaration that you're over it, but the soft, everyday practice of releasing what no longer belongs in your hand. And sometimes the hardest part isn't even letting go of the person themselves, it's letting go of who you were with them. You see, when someone has occupied so much space in your mind, they don't just exist as a memory, they become part of your identity. You get used to thinking in terms of we, even when the we no longer exists. Your thoughts circle around them like satellites around a planet that's no longer there. And even if they're gone, the version of yourself that lived in their presence still lingers, like an echo you keep turning toward, hoping to hear something that will explain everything. Letting go, then, means grieving not just them, but the part of you that was built around them. The version of you that hoped, that loved, that waited. It means acknowledging that maybe you lost more than a person. You lost the future you imagined, the soft certainty you felt when they smiled, the quiet faith that you were seen, needed, chosen. And when that disappears, you don't just feel absence, you feel disorientation. You ask yourself, who am I now, without this, without them? And this is where the deep work begins. This is where you stop looking outward and start looking inward. Not to assign blame, but to understand. Not to fix what's broken, but to finally listen to the pieces. Because the mind will try to convince you that if you keep thinking about them, you'll stay connected. But real connection isn't kept alive by obsession. It's kept alive by mutual presence. And if they are no longer present, then what you are holding on to is not love, it's memory. And memory cannot love you back. So, begin by allowing the silence between you and them to be just that, silence. Stop filling it with imagined conversations, with what-ifs, with emotional rehearsals for closure that will never come. The silence is not your enemy, it is your teacher. It is the space where your own voice can finally begin to emerge again. But you must first become willing to stop chasing the echo of someone who's already gone. This doesn't mean you didn't love them. It doesn't mean what you had wasn't real. It simply means that there comes a time when holding on begins to cost you more than it comforts you. When the energy you spend thinking about them is energy taken away from your own healing, your own growth. And the truth is, you deserve that energy. You need that energy. Because moving on is not about finding someone else, it's about finding yourself again, in the absence of who you thought you needed. Every time you think of them and choose not to follow the thread of thought, you're letting go a little more. Every time you feel the urge to reach out, to check their page, to send a message, and you choose not to, you're reclaiming a piece of yourself. Letting go is not passive, it is an active, often painful choice to stop feeding the past and start feeding your own future. It's not forgetting, it's remembering yourself more. And yes, the temptation will come. The mind will whisper, maybe if I had just said this, Maybe if I wait a little longer, maybe they'll come back. But these are not intuitions, they are cravings. Cravings for certainty, for validation, for resolution. And the deeper truth is, if they were meant to stay, they would still be here. If they had the capacity to love you the way you needed, they would have. No one walks away from the right person. They only walk away from the role they cannot fulfill. So you must stop arguing with reality. You must stop trying to make sense of why someone didn't stay. Not because it doesn't matter, but because no amount of analysis will change the outcome. The mind wants logic, but the heart needs grace. And grace says, I release you. Not because I didn't love you, but because I finally love myself enough to stop chasing someone who wasn't meant to stay. And when you do this, something powerful happens. The energy you once gave to keeping the past alive begins to create space for new dreams, for deeper healing, for unexpected joy. Slowly you stop waiting for them to come back and start becoming someone who doesn't need them to. Letting go isn't forgetting them, it's remembering who you are without the weight of them. There comes a moment, often imperceptible at first, when you realize that no matter how many times you think about them, no matter how much you wish they would return, you're not actually trying to hold on to them anymore. You're trying to hold on to who you were when they were part of your life. It's not the person you miss, it's the version of yourself that was shaped by their presence. And when you face that truth, it becomes clear. You're not stuck on them, you're stuck on the person you believed you were with them. This realization can be both liberating and painful. It means that your attachment wasn't as much to them as it was to the feelings, the future, the possibilities that came with loving them. It means that in the absence of their presence, you've been left to face a truth you've been avoiding for so long. You don't know who you are without them. And that's where the real work begins. Not in trying to get them back, but in learning how to become yourself again, without needing them as a reference point. But it's not easy. It's natural to feel lost when you've spent so long defining yourself through someone else's eyes. Relationships, whether romantic or not, often become mirrors reflecting back to us who we think we are. When that mirror shatters, when the person who held up that reflection is no longer there, you're forced to stand in the rawness of your own identity. And it's uncomfortable because it challenges everything you've built your sense of self around. You may find yourself grappling with feelings of inadequacy, questioning your worth, wondering if you'll ever be able to connect with someone the way you once did. But what you must remember is that this feeling of loss is not an indication that you've lost something irreplaceable. It's an opportunity for you to redefine yourself, to find out who you are when you're not trying to impress anyone, not trying to fit into anyone else's mold, not trying to meet anyone's expectation. This is the moment where you can finally become the most authentic version of yourself, because you're no longer living in reaction to someone else's presence in your life. And I'll tell you this, it's okay to feel vulnerable in that process. It's okay to grieve who you thought you were. But it's also important to remember that the person you are becoming is not someone who is incomplete without them. They were a chapter, but you are the story. And while it's painful to accept that the story has moved on, it's also the only way to free yourself from the past. The more you cling to what was, the more you prevent yourself from becoming who you're meant to be next. There's a delicate balance between honoring the love you shared and releasing the need for it to define you. You can still treasure what was beautiful in the relationship, but you must also recognize that the space they occupied in your life needs to be filled with your own growth, not their absence. You have to learn how to take up that space for yourself, to fill your own heart and mind with your own dreams, your own desires, your own worth, rather than looking back to see if they will ever come, and validate that for you. What's so beautiful about this moment is that it's not about closing a door forever. It's about choosing to move forward, knowing that what's ahead may be just as rich, just as meaningful, but only if you allow yourself to walk toward it without carrying the past with you. You cannot build a future while your hands are full of yesterday's pain. And I don't mean to imply that this is an easy process. Healing never is. But the deeper you lean into the discomfort of standing alone, the more you'll realize that you were never truly alone. You've always had yourself, even if you didn't recognize it at the time. You'll notice, too, that as time passes, the things that once felt like deep wounds will become stories you can tell without the heaviness. One day, you'll find that thinking about them no longer causes your heart to ache. Instead, it will be like recalling any part of your life. Something that happened, something that taught you, something that shaped you. The pain will fade, not because it was forgotten, but because you learned how to live with it, how to honor it, and how to move beyond it. It's crucial to understand that this process of releasing isn't about erasing the love, the memories, or even the lessons learned. It's about rediscovering yourself in the absence of someone else's presence. The love you once gave wasn't wasted. It is part of the fabric of who you are now. And every time you release the grip on the need for them, you free that love to live in a different, healthier space within you. It's okay to look back and miss them, to remember the good times, without feeling like you're falling into a trap of nostalgia. But it's equally important that you don't let those memories rob you of your present. The present is where your power lies. The future is where your potential lies. And the only way to truly step into that future is to stop dragging the past behind you. It's like carrying a bag filled with stones. You can keep holding on, but every step forward gets heavier and the road becomes more difficult to navigate. The only way to lighten your load is to let go of what doesn't serve you anymore. As you step forward, step into the realization that your life is not a series of chapters based on others, but a journey that is uniquely yours. The love you gave will never disappear. It will always be with you in the form of wisdom, strength, and the ability to love again in new ways. But you have to make space for that love to grow by first allowing yourself to heal from the love that's already passed. Let go of the need for their return and give yourself the gift of moving forward. The future is waiting. Sometimes, in the quiet moments when you are alone with your thoughts, you might realize something powerful. Even if the person you miss were to come back, they would never be able to offer you what you truly need now. What you need now is not another chance, not another reunion, not the same love you once shared, but a new relationship with yourself. This is one of the most difficult things to face because, for so long, you believed that the key to your happiness or healing rested in them. But the truth is, you are the one who holds that key. You've always had it. The moment you realize that, everything shifts. For so long, you may have thought that healing meant reuniting, that moving on meant them coming back to you. But now, as you stand on the other side of this pain, you begin to understand that the healing wasn't ever about them. It was about you. It wasn't about waiting for their return to validate your worth or to show you that love is possible. It was about finding your own worth, realizing your own strength, and understanding that love isn't something someone can give you. It's something you must give to yourself first. You see, there's a subtle but essential truth that people often overlook. When we're so focused on getting over someone, on releasing the emotional grip they've had on us, we forget that we can't simply erase them from our minds. The goal isn't to erase them, it's to make peace with their absence. It's about acknowledging that the person you once needed no longer holds the same power over your emotions. And once you reach that place, you realize that you've grown, you've evolved. The person you were when you needed them isn't the same person you are now. That version of you was built on external validation, built on a connection with someone who may no longer be part of your life. But the version of you that stands here today is built on a deeper sense of self, a self that's no longer dependent on their presence to feel complete. When you begin to see this truth, you start to see them in a different light, not as the center of your universe, but as a part of your past. They become a piece of your history, not your future. This shift isn't about dismissing what you shared, It's about honoring it for what it was and letting it rest in its rightful place. You don't need to keep them alive in your heart because you've learned how to keep yourself alive in your heart. And in doing so, you free yourself from the illusion that they are the missing piece to your happiness. The missing piece has always been within you. At some point, you realized that the attachment you felt wasn't just love, it was a form of dependency, an attachment to an idea of what your life should look like with them in it. You see, when someone becomes such an important part of your life, you begin to weave them into your identity. You imagine a future with them, you see yourself through their eyes, and you start to define your worth in relation to them. And when that person is no longer there, you're forced to ask yourself, who am I now? This is where the real work begins. Not in focusing on how to get them back, but in focusing on who you are when the image of we no longer exists. Now, here's the key. This process of rediscovery isn't about searching for a new version of yourself. It's about unearthing the version of yourself that's always been there, the version that didn't need to be defined by someone else's love or presence. It's about reclaiming the parts of you that were waiting to be explored, to be nurtured, to be seen for who you truly are, without the filter of your relationship with them. It's about breaking free from the confines of who you thought you were and opening yourself up to the possibility of becoming who you are meant to be. There's a profound freedom in this realization. It means you don't have to wait for someone else to tell you that you're worthy of love. You don't have to wait for someone else to heal you or to show you the way forward. You have everything you need within you to begin moving forward on your own. And as you begin to explore this new space, this new sense of self, you realize that the love you once thought you needed from them was never the love that would truly heal you. The love you need now is the love you give yourself. It's the gentle acceptance of your own heart, the quiet recognition that you are enough as you are. The journey of getting over someone, then, becomes less about forgetting them and more about remembering yourself. It's not about erasing the memories or pretending the pain didn't exist. It's about making peace with the fact that the chapter has closed and it's time to move forward, on your own terms. It's about releasing the grip that they once held on your heart and placing that heart back in the hands that truly understand it, your own. In this process, you'll begin to notice something remarkable. The more you focus on rebuilding your relationship with yourself, the less power their absence holds over you. You no longer need their approval to feel whole. You no longer need their presence to feel loved. You begin to realize that the love you've been seeking was always within you. It wasn't in them, it was in the way you can care for your own heart, in the way you can find peace in your own company, and in the way you can create a future where you are the most important person in your life. It's not an easy journey, it's not a fast journey, but it is a necessary one. And the moment you begin to understand that the person you were before, the one who clung to their memory, is no longer the person you have to be, that's when the healing truly starts. Because you no longer need them to return to feel complete. You are already whole, you've always been, and the love you've been waiting for has always been waiting within you. If you're ready to take the first step toward healing and reclaiming your power, don't wait another day. Start by embracing the love that you've always had within yourself. Let go of the past and make space for the new, the wonderful, and the authentic you. It's time to stop waiting for someone else to complete you. You are already whole. Take a moment now to reflect on your journey and begin building a relationship with yourself that's rooted in self-love, acceptance, and growth. Follow this path and watch as your life transforms. Don't forget to share your story, and if you're feeling inspired, join the conversation in the comments or connect with others who are walking this same path. Let's support each other in this beautiful journey of becoming our true selves. Thank you.